now we're going to move on to another thing that I specifically watched this weekend.
Your babies?
My babies. The championship that I came across for the very first time this year. And I'm talking about none other than the FIA Euro Truck Racing Championship. It is where they race trucks. And I love it more than life.
It's so absurd to me. I know you enjoy it. And
Yeah.
I mean, I was there when you were watching it. I was not paying 100% attention.
Yeah, you were doing
But
it.
it's just so wild.
It
Like just visually also, especially when we go from a 2-wheel motorcycle race or like an open wheel Formula One race or even just a GT race, and you go into this truck.
Yeah,
You know,
literally the front part of a long hauling truck, right? And is also one of the few championships that I just learned this weekend that actually has a speed limit.
Yes.
You get penalized for over speeding, which is the speed limit.
Or for
is,
just speeding.
It's called over speeding.
Oh, interesting.
Is the
Terminology.
terminology or the penalty, which is 160 kilometers an hour is what the max speed is, which is in miles per hour is 99 miles. So about 100 miles an hour they're allowed to go. And 100 miles is fucking fast, dude.
It is?
Like I go 80 on the way to work, and that's
Illegal. First of all, very illegal.
I mean, everyone is going 80. I'm just going with the traffic flow. Let's be real. Anyone who drives in LA knows that.
Yeah,
on the 101. And
you just go not the fastest. That's the rule.
Yeah, you don't ever be the fastest one on the road, right? No, hey guys, I don't condone doing anything illegal on the street.
Yeah.
But just like for comparison, I have once in my life on accident when I got my car, and it's not like I have a particular fast car. Once hit 100 miles an hour, and I was like, this is fast.
Yeah.
Dude.
So imagine it in a truck.
In a big ass truck.
House. I don't know what it's called, but like just
Yeah.
the front part.
That-
Cabin.
Yeah, in the
Yes,
cabin.
Yes.
That is insane. And essentially the rule is, I believe, if you hit 170 kilometers an hour and you 8 consecutive seconds, I think it's consecutive seconds are over that, then you get a penalty, which is I think 10 seconds. I'm uncertain. So this is something that a lot of drivers had to deal with this weekend.
Also, very quickly, speaking of the speed, I feel like that one camera shot that you also pointed out to me, that's where you can really see how fast it is, because, you know, it's often like this in motorsports that different camera angles give you a different sense of the speed of the vehicle. So that one overhead shot that kind of looked like it was on like a bridge going over the track, and the cars were going, or the truck cabins were underneath it. Yeah. It was like, that was a really awesome camera angle. Whoever decided to put the camera on there, thank you very much. Brilliant. Yes.
Brilliant. For the TRC, that's the abbreviation. They do 4 races a weekend. So they do 2 races on Saturdays and 2 races on Sundays. And 2 out of the 4 races also reverse grid. And each race has 2 categories they're racing. You have the titanium class, which is you could say, I guess, like the platinum, gold, like the higher rated drivers, and then you have the chrome level riders, and there you can tell that there's definitely a difference in like speed, just because usually so 7 of the 15 drivers on the grid are titanium, and then the other 8 are chrome, and then usually between 7 and 8 place there is a gap in speed.
Yeah. Question. Do you know if the vehicles, are they the same?
I don't know. I think they are. What I do know is that they're all using reusable biodiesel.
Okay.
So, and the TRC actually got this year, they got an award, and I think maybe that comes also with a little bit of money for sustainability.
Oh, nice.
Because I guess the FIA does an intense audit on championships, and whoever ranks like high and stuff like that, they get an award, and I'm assuming there's money associated with that, because otherwise what's the incentive?
Yeah, of course.
Let's be real. But it is very interesting that a trucking championship, a truck's known to be probably like gas guzzlers and like probably bad for the environment. Probably they are bad for the environment, right? That they're racing that. Yeah. And that's the one that gets that award. Really, really cool.
Yes.
So 4 races. The races are 12 laps. They did. It kind of depends on the track.
Yeah, of course.
I would say the races are around 20 minutes. So I watched all of them essentially in about an hour. And the cool thing is also, first of all, you can watch all of that on YouTube for free. And they have it broadcast in 3 different languages.
Which is so cool.
That is insane.
Which is also insane that it shows that it has quite a wide audience.
Yes.
Because it's in English, German, and Spanish, you said, right? Which is really cool. But I was also thinking about it. I wonder what the demographic is of the audience. You know, who watches it? Like, obviously you watch it, and I by association, but who else is the demographic? Which I wonder.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to point this out. So the European Truck Racing Championship is a motorsport truck road racing series for semi-tractors, which are sanctioned by the FIA. So that is, I guess, the definition of it. I just love it. The first time I saw it, I was like, that's insane.
Yes,
but this is this is the typical human thing to do. It's like, we built this thing specifically for long hauling things, right? Across countries or across, whatever states. And it's like, hey, what if we take it to the track and race it? Well, who's the fastest in these?
Oh my gosh, it's so absurd, but I love it.
I absolutely love it too. One thing I also wanted to point out, which I didn't know, is that they have water tanks in the car or in the truck, and those are used for cooling of the brakes. Because one of the drivers said that he hit in one of the races or whatever, they took the temperature from the brakes and it was up to 400 degrees. So sometimes when you see them drive, you can see, I guess, steam coming out. There's always, I was like, oh, is there something wrong with someone's engine? No, it's steam from the water that is cooling down the brakes, because this also comes in to play why there is a speed limit, because you are in a big ass truck that is going 100 miles an hour or 160 kilometers, and crashing one of those can be quite impactful. We actually had that in race 2. So this was the first time I watched all 4 races once again, and it was awesome. If you're like, okay, I want to only watch one of the races, I'd recommend you probably watch race 2. Race 2 did end in a red flag. It was also a reverse grid race. And so we actually ended up having a German winning, which was awesome.
Yes.
And second place was the Portuguese driver, Rodriguez. And then in third place, we had another German from our home state, Stephanie Halm. And she's also been racing for like 11 years in this championship. So this is like,
I remember her from the last race.
Yeah,
that
from
we
the last
watched,
one. Yeah, and she has, I think this was she's gotten 6 podiums this year or this season. One of them she actually got a win. Too. And that one was really intense. So because we have the current championship, he's from Hungary, I believe. Norbert Kitsch. So his name is spelled Kiss, but I believe the pronunciation is Kitsch. Kish.
Yeah.
Because that's also how the commentator said it.
Which also, I just want to point out, I really like, we watched a German commentator, and I think we did that last time too.
Last time I put it on too as well. And it's always the same guy.
Yes. His voice sounds very familiar, and I'm sure he's commentated something else that I'm familiar with.
He does a lot of sports because he sounds very familiar.
Exactly. But I also really appreciate his commentating.
Absolutely.
He gives a lot of great information, and like, there's not a lot of camera angles for them.
No.
Not what we're used to from like MotoGP and F1 and things like that. So it's like he works with what he has.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think he does an excellent job.
He does an excellent job. I could imagine that the other ones are also good, because from what I've seen in quote unquote smaller series that don't have the budget, like the people who are commentating, they're so passionate. And I love that so much. We had that in F4. The commentators, they're so passionate, and it just also makes the experience so much more enjoyable. Because of course, if someone is excited about what's happening, it's probably gonna gain you some excitement or raises excitement in yourself. And so in race 2, you had because of the reverse grid, you had the number one, I think 7-time champion now. Norbert, he was in 4th place at some point, and him and the German driver they were going back to back, and once he's able to overtake you, he usually will create a gap because he has so much pace. He's just he's the champion for a reason, right?
Yeah.
But you have to give Stephanie her flowers. The way she defended.
Yeah.
Because she was first, actually, I believe she was P2. And then she ended up losing to position. And she immediately learned from it because there's a chicane on the track. They were racing in the Netherlands.
Zolder,
yeah. Where if you are overtaking and you can get the inside line, you will get the advantage then going out of it and then going into the next corner. And that's how she lost P2. And then when it came to defending P3, she always made sure that she positions herself into P3. And then because the camera angles are not that, there was eventually... Norbert or Kish was able to overtake her. However, they were still neck and neck, and then this was on like the finish line, like on the final straight, but it was in the final lap. He drifted out a little bit too far left, and the way the track is set up, that you drift out to the left and then you have to pull back in because otherwise you'll hit the barrier.
Yeah.
And he had to turn so much that he ended up essentially going all the way right, and he was square on the track. The German driver, she was able to avoid him a little bit, but she picked up a lot of damage. And then the number 23, who was in 5th place, he ended up crashing right into the concrete barrier on the side of the track, and like that was an insane impact because there was no flipping of the thing, because like flipping a goddamn truck is difficult, but you have all this force, and this is a quite fast corner, I would say, because you're going on the straight, so you're on the accelerator, and you see all this impact, and he crashed right into the side. They ended up red flagging the race
on the last lap.
It
was because as they were crossing the finish line, it was getting to the last lap.
Yeah, because then Norbert, I don't think he was able to continue on. He was kind of limping. He picked up a lot of damage. His windshield was cracked. The number 23 truck was completely out.
Yeah, and it was leaking.
Fluids.
The good thing is, though, that it was the second race of the day.
Yeah.
So that helped. So they had
overnight
to fix it for the next 2 races, because imagine if that would have been the first race. I mean, I don't know if they would have been able to fix everything, especially for truck number 23.
Yeah, and I also imagine it being really difficult for the crew, because part of me thinks that this is not their only job.
Oh,
you know, I would be really surprised if they would be able to live off of just that, because they don't have that many rounds per season.
Yeah. I think it's 9 rounds, if I'm not mistaken.
So if you think about it, that's 9 weekends out of 52. So you probably have another job.
Yes,
you know?
That's true.
So you're working all weekend so much, and then you have to, get the truck back ready. And there was also really bad because there's so much impact and you hit concrete. There was like the door was bent.
Oh, yes,
and there was like, so which meant that it might be the frame was mucked up and stuff like that. The good thing is he did return for race 3, so they were able to fix it, but it was quite intense.
Yeah.
And then I would say all races were really fun, but race 2 you had very aggressive driving, but fair but aggressive, right? You couldn't tell from the angle whether or not there was contact between the number 1 and the 44, so the German driver, but it was the first time I've seen a crash with the series. Not that the first time there was a crash happening, of course.
Is question for you. Have you ever seen inside the cockpit?
They hadn't. I am trying to.
Because I'm wondering, are they in there with like this big
wheel? I would be surprised.
I mean, I can't imagine it's like a Formula 1 one where there's like a little bit.
I think it is like a round one. But I haven't seen
like where they have like a little joystick on it where they're like
exactly
crank it and then crank it the other way.
Yes, exactly. That is.
That's how I imagine it, and that's how I want to keep it in my head.
Yes.
So I'm gonna live.
It is
that.
Actually. It is like in a ship where they have like. Let me see. Euro Truck Racing. Sorry.
I mean, obviously I can look it up too, but I was just curious because I was trying to imagine them driving it.
Mm-hmm.
So
it looks like it is a wheel, but they do shift.
Oh,
because,
like
I think so, because they were talking about, because one of the in one of the races, one of the drivers all of a sudden pulled to the side and he was slow, and then the commentator was talking about it might have been a potential miss shift.
Oh, that sucks.
Yes, that would have been really annoying.
I mean,
yeah, it looks like they have like a round. Yeah, and then they do they have a shifter right there.
Oh,
and then there's like this netting around them. I'm sure there's maybe like a roll cage and
for
stuff
safety.
like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it is manual. Which
I wonder
is
how physically exhausting it is
I
to
think it
like drive it, and then also just like to move the wheel around. Because I mean, they do have. It is a regular track, so there are several like turns and chicanes and things like that. So I wonder how physically exhausting it is potentially as well.
Yeah, it's also like looking into, there's a bunch of buttons and stuff like that. I don't know how many buttons they really use, because like if you look into a GT3 car, it's like, what is all these buttons? But they probably don't use it. So this is the other thing that I watched. They will be back. So if you're like, okay, you already told me what's happening, I don't want to watch it. I would strongly recommend next week they will be racing at the Le Mans track. They're not doing the Le Mans.
Yeah, it's the Bugatti circuit that they'll be racing on.
Le Mans, essentially. And so they will be racing that. And then we have one more, and that's the end of the season. And it does look like the Hungarian driver will take it. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. It is surprisingly how much like overtaking there is. There's plenty of times where someone just send it in one corner and it's like, we'll see if I make it stick.
Yeah.
Of course, like not egregiously, but I was yelling a bunch of times, and I was standing because I was like, I cannot watch this sitting down. So yeah, Euro Truck Racing Championship.
Yes.
Love it. I will definitely keep watching it.
Nice.
I think, however, that is everything I have to say.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, I lied. Two more things I wanted to say.
Wow.
There was the Le Mans Cup this weekend. The Iron Dames qualified in P1 and took P1. That is Martha Garcia and
Vanya X. So they're in the Le Mans Cup series, which is just underneath essentially the European Le Mans series.
Exactly. And they race Saturdays.
Yes, exactly.
And then we did also have the ELMS on Sunday. We weren't able to watch. Yeah, at Silverstone, we weren't able to watch it because they don't make it available for American viewers.
It irks me. Like, why do you have to be discriminatory as to where people are?
What I don't understand is like the only reason I could think that you're not showing it on YouTube for Americans is, are you showing it on TV somewhere? Is that where the broadcast?
I mean, you can also show it to us later because we won't watch it live because it's too early.
Yeah, for most parts,
but it's like it frustrates me. So it's always a bummer because I mean, especially you. I know you love endurance races, and then so we can't ever or rarely watch the ELMS series just because.
I wonder, maybe I have to check. Maybe it's on HBO. I'm gonna check it. I doubt it is, but we have the WEC on HBO. I don't know. But the Iron Dames did qualify in P1 going into the race. Unfortunately, finished in P10.
Yeah.
I know it was a rain race. And Celia Martin, before handing over the car to Sarah Bovey, she did have to serve a drive-through penalty. I don't know what for, so it's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
But great job for Martha Garcia and Vanya, because they've been doing really, really well in the Le Mans Cup. This is not the first one. They've won, I think, before.
And I think... Oh, no, I'm not sure. I don't want to say. I thought they've won like the whole series now, but I'm probably wrong.
I'm the realest one in the game. And then I did also wanted to point out that Max Verstappen had his Nürburgring test this weekend in a Mercedes AMG GT3, I think. So because I know I don't think it's a secret, that's where I think also the whole Franz Herrmann situation is coming from, that he wants to race in the 24-hour race of Nürburgring, where he first has to get the license, which will be not particularly difficult for him to get.
Okay, so I was wrong. They didn't win the series. They're not
Dare to win it.
No, I'm not sure if I'm looking at the wrong thingy, but yeah, no, they won the race, but I don't think they're
okay. Well,
the
at
series.
least maybe they made it onto the podium
Yeah.
this year. Either way, fantastic for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Max's test went really well. I don't think anyone is particularly surprised by that.
Yeah.
I am happy for him because I'd love to see him at the Nürburgring 24-hour. I don't know if that's possible next year because I don't know how the schedule aligns with F1. I know that the frustrating thing with the Nürburgring is that it's the week after, at least this year, after Le Mans, which is like, come on, you can't do 24 two 24-hour races in a row. And it's both in Europe. Like, what the hell, guys?
It's so annoying.
But anyways, I think that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. As always,
sorry, they are champion,
as they deserve and as they should be. The Iron Dames reign supreme in the Le Mans Cup.
So I really had to look this up, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in.
As always, thank you for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. We will be back on Thursday with everything that you could, or the top 10 races for this upcoming weekend. Spoiler alert, Baku.
Yes. And European Truck Racing World Championship
in France. And if you are on Spotify, 5 stars, por favor.
Yes.
Hit that follow. And thank you guys so much for tuning in.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.